Good day to you. God bless you. Say, welcome to the Shepherd's Chapel. Welcome to this family Bible study hour. We're ready to get back in our Father's Word. Genesis chapter 35. We're going to pick it up about verse 19. This is kind of a sad time because we're going to lose Rachel here. We're at the birth of Benjamin, and this birth, she didn't survive it. And it would always make you wonder, because she took the golden pieces from her father Laban, and Jacob said, the person that did this, may they not live. Well, she didn't. After giving birth to what would be the 12th child of Jacob, rounding out the 12 patriarchs, or the 12 tribes of Israel, with God changing his name, Jacob, that is to say, to Israel. And God's plan is perfect, okay? Rachel passes away at Bethlehem, giving birth to the 12th patriarch, and many years later, a virgin shall conceive and give birth to the Messiah, which came through the genealogy of Israel as Savior of all the world. You know, those things do not happen by accident. We'll document Bethlehem here in a moment as to this passing. As Rachel is giving this birth, we pick it up with verse 19 as she passes. Chapter 35, verse 19, the great book of Genesis, and it reads, "And Rachel died, and was buried in the way to Ephrath, which is Bethlehem." It's the same place, you know, isn't that? And verse 20, "And Jacob set a pillar upon her grave," that is the pillar of Rachel's grave, "unto this day." You hear it mentioned again in 1 Samuel chapter 10, verse 2. And it was not Suel. Suel in the Hebrew is a grave. Okay, it was a sepulchre, and it is mentioned again in 1 Samuel chapter 10, verse 2, that they were to meet at Rachel's sepulchre. So it remained even at that time there near and at Bethlehem. Bethlehem meaning the house of bread. And here would be birthed many years later the bread of life, the true bread of life, which is to say Christ. Okay, the body that took the stripes that our bodies get the healing and the saving. Okay, continuing then with verse 21. And verse 21 reads, "And Israel," being Jacob, "journeyed and spread his tent beyond the tower of Eder." Eder means flock, okay, like a flock of sheep, okay. Verse 22, "And it came to pass, when Israel dwelt in that land, that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard it. Now the sons of Jacob were 12. Israel was not at all happy about this. As a matter of fact, when we get to the 49th chapter, it takes his heritage, all right? This was incest, and it was to the same as back where Ham uncovered his father's nakedness. Well, here Reuben uncovers his father's nakedness. This is the oldest child. And though there's not a great deal written about it here, it will cost him dearly. Verse 23. "The sons of Leah," we get a little report here now. "The sons of Leah being Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and Simeon and Levi and Judah and Issachar and Zebulun." Leah produced more children than any other woman for Jacob, now Israel. Verse 24, "The sons of Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin." This would be his favorites. Verse 25. Let me say quickly, you're not supposed to have favorites among children. Rachel was his favorite wife, and unfortunately, it was pretty obvious to the other children that Jacob, now Israel, loved these two more than the others. And that's a painful thing to place upon a family. And parents need to be very careful. I mean, even after children are adults, you be very careful that you do not show partiality between children. Verse 25. And the sons of Bilhah, Rachel's handmaid, Dan and Naphtali, always in pairs, right? 26. And the sons of Zilpah, Leah's handmaid, Gad and Asher, these are the sons of Jacob, which were born to him in Padanaram. And of course, Benjamin, as we know, was not born at Padanaram, but was born at Bethlehem. Verse 27. And Jacob came unto Isaac his father, unto Mamre, unto the city of Arba, which is Hebron, or Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac sojourned. They come back to that meeting place, 28. And the days of Isaac were 180 years. He had a nice full age, 29. And Isaac gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people. Remember, he was buried in that tomb that the acrostic of the names buried there spells out Israel, okay? Abraham, Sarah, Leah, and so forth. Being old and full of days, and his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. These two sons, it would seem, were their earthly father. It would seem that Esau truly loved his earthly father. Esau loved his brother as far as that's concerned. They didn't hit it off that well. Now, but when it come to their father, they both loved him dearly. And naturally in Isaac is the seed called, that is to say the Messiah would spring forth. And naturally it would not be through Esau, but it would be through Jacob, which is to say Israel, now that God himself has changed his name to say God commands, this prince prevailed with God. That is to say, God uses him. Now, we come to the 36th chapter, and it has to do with the genealogy and the offspring of the dukes, which is to say Esau's children. And as I explained to you, many of these people have dual names, so I'm not going to go into it because they will come, many of them will come again into contact with Israel, and we'll discuss it at that time, because sometimes even then the name is different, though it is the same people. I feel it is an insert, and it is important to know that Esau was blessed, that he was a full nation, but he would always be a little skimp, because his blessing, as he will soon, as we're going to pick it up here in chapter 37 in a moment, and you're going to find out that Esau leaves because Jacob is so rich, Israel is so rich and so populous, and so is he. I mean, he was blessed with 12 dukes, okay, and all their offspring. And but again, as back in Genesis chapter 27, he would be away from the fat of the land. And you got to remember something else about Esau. Never did he pray to God. He always prayed to his father, whom now he has buried, okay, and Isaac. And never leave God out of the equation of your life. Your earthly parents are very important to you, and you love them very much. But your real father is Almighty God. And you should live your life with maturity to the fact that you want God's will in your life. And when you come to that discernment and decision, then God will bless you. So again, there are many people within this 36th chapter that we will bump into at one time or the other. Esau, of course, is hairy rather, and his land was Edom, and and he controlled it real well. And so, having said that, I feel this is not through this genealogy, and it is simply a full chapter of names of who did what, and I'll simply read. You won't have it. I'll read the 43rd verse of that chapter, and then we'll pick it up with chapter 37, verse 1. The last verse reads, Duke, this is what his children were called, Magdiel, Duke Iram, these are the dukes of Edom according to their habitations in the land of their possessions. He is Esau, the father of the Edomites. That is to say, and that nation would go on to be still, as Edom is red, the red nation of the end times, all right? Always, is it not strange, and this has nothing to do with the people, but always driving God away from the nation. And so it came to be when 1918 come to pass, as we have learned in the minor prophets, that the true king was, and family was murdered and buried in lime, which they were, Alexandria, Victoria, and the children. And communism took over. And the communists closed churches, basically, made horse barns out of them and storage places for other things, making God void and leaving him out of the equation. Anytime you do that, there's trouble. There's trouble coming, and you can count on it. So having said that, chapter 37, let's get back to God's own here as we follow. And I'm not cutting out the children of Esau that love the Lord Jesus Christ, but it is important, the heritage that would bring forth the Savior, which is the blessing to all nations, even Esau's nation. Chapter 37, verse 1, and it reads, And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. Here he was. Why? God gave it to him. Verse 2. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren. Remember, Joseph is the first son of Rachel, whom Jacob loved so dearly. Okay. And the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. This would be Dan and Naphtali from Bilhah, and Gad and Issachar from, Gad and Asher from Zilpah, okay? His father's wives, and Joseph brought unto his father their evil reports. They were kind of probably murmuring a little bit among themselves, and Joseph squealed on them. Okay. He took the report back to the old man so they could be corrected. That's not exactly the way to win friends and influence people, all right? He's just a 17-year-old, and he's taking care of business. Verse 3. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, and they knew it, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. Now, this doesn't mean it's patched together. It's a coat of royalty, meaning either worn by the master himself or his heir. So here we've got this little 17-year-old with his brethren, and he's wearing and toting this jacket coat that documents that he's heir number one to his father, who is their father also. Now this is naturally that equation is not good. But there's a reason for this. God is in this as well, so listen and learn from it, okay? But This is warned by the chief or his heir, and that doesn't set well with them. Verse 4. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and could not speak peaceably unto him. They had nothing good to say about him. Little wimp come out there and overheard them talking and squealed every word of it to the old man and got us all in trouble. And here now he sports around this first fruit heir, and he's 17. Verse 5. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. You know why? Well, listen to the dream. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. 7. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field. That's making bundles out of, let's say, wheat, okay? And lo, my sheaf arose and also stood upright, and behold, your sheaves stood round about and made obeisance to my sheaf. That's another way. I mean, he's 17 and he really dreamed this. Why? God showed it to him. You see, ultimately there is a famine coming. And all of these people possibly could have died, Israel. But God will cause his brothers to sell Joseph into Egypt. And Joseph will become a great man there, and he will furnish sheaves to feed these starving people to see that Israel survives. So the dream is from God. Know that and understand it coming out the gate. But it is kind of sad in a way that this 17-year-old whom his father loved so much because of Rachel, and we know from the story that's the wife he worked 7 years for and wanted. Be that as it may. Verse 8. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. This is, among 12 brothers, this one being the smaller and Joseph's own brother, which has nothing to do with it, but these others are grown men, and they're not happy campers with this situation. 9. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. That's to say, Mom, Dad, and all 12 of the zodiac, with he being the 11 signs of the zodiac, with he being the 12th. That's what he dreamed. Worship me. Now, again, you know and I know, this is not going to make points with the older brothers. Verse 10, and he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him, and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee, to the earth? I mean, Papa didn't like that any more than the brothers did. Now, naturally, this maybe will take a little bit of slack with Papa dressing him down pretty good over this, but it won't heal it. Okay. But again, all the time, this is God. Joseph, in a sense, is a type of a savior to them, because Joseph will control much wealth. Well, why will Joseph control much wealth? Because God blessed him. You see, that makes the difference, whether God directs your life, whether God can use you, or you're useless to him. And God used Joseph to keep this whole group alive. But Papa dressed him down pretty good. Verse 11, and his brethren envied him. But his father observed the saying. He made note of it. Verse 12, and his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. You remember what happened at Shechem. That's where Diana was raped. Okay. 13, and Israel said unto Joseph, do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said to him, here am I, and I'm ready, I'll go. He was 17, but he was ready. He was ready and a willing participant. Verse 14, and he said to him, go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren and well with the flocks, and bring the word again. So he went out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. Shechem, of course, meaning back. Now, this is going to hurt Jacob, because Jacob is the one that sent this 17-year-old out into uncharted where they'd had much trouble. Two of the elders had killed off the whole town. And he sends this 17-year-old out there to find all the rest of them, feeling there would be no problem. But 15, and a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field, and the man asked him, saying, what seekest thou? I mean, he had no idea where he was or where they were. 16, and he said, I seek my brethren. He didn't identify himself. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. They must have been well known enough that he didn't feel he had to. Verse 17, and the man said, they are departed hence, for I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren and found them in Dothan, rather. Dothan is two wells, okay? And unfortunately, they're they're located on a high road where caravans go by, okay? Merchants, traders, and so forth, travelers. 18, and when they saw him afar off, when they see that coat of many colors coming toward them, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. You know, that's pretty serious stuff, is for somebody to want to kill their little brother. But Joseph had kind of worked at it. Did God egg him on to cause them to have this anger? God was in control, that's for certain. That I leave that with your mind to understand. Verse 19. And they said one to another, behold, this dreamer cometh. This dreamer that makes us a nothing and him everything. Well, beloved, before it's over, that's kind of the way it'll be in some sense as far as supplies and living. 20. Come now therefore, and let us slay him and cast him into some pit, and we will say some evil beast hath devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. We'll end his dreaming right here and now. Now here there's, Benjamin isn't here, because he's still, if Joseph is only 17, Benjamin is younger than that. But the rest of them are grown men, and we got 10 of them. And they, through these dreams that God has given Joseph, and he's kind of innocent. I mean, they were real, and he saw them, he observed them. He was only reporting what he had seen. So God has kind of built up this hatred in a way. Verse 21, and Reuben heard it. Here, the senior, the most adult, Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands and said, let us not kill him. 22, and Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again. Reuben, being the senior, said, I'm going to slip him off in this pit, let him cool down, and then I'll get him back to Dad. Verse 23, and it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat, his coat of many colors that was on him. How they disliked this. 24. And they took him and cast him into a pit. And the pit was empty. There was no water in it. They may have called this place two caverns, or two wells, but evidently there's a cistern there that's dry because Joseph's in it. And there was, without help, there's no way you were going to climb out without aids of some kind. Verse 25. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites, the children of Hagar, came from Gilead with their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt, going right on down there. 26. And Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? What is that worth to us? 27. Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh, and his brethren were content. We'll go along with that. And about that time then, verse 28, then there passed by Midianites, merchantmen. These would be the offspring not of Hagar, but of Keturah. As written in Genesis, chapter 25. And that is to say, Abraham's second wife after first Sarah, then Keturah, and Midian was one of the offspring between Abraham and Keturah. And they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt. These were merchants. The price of a slave was 30 pieces of silver. They had to leave a little room there for profit. They sold him pretty cheap. They gave him a pretty good bargain. And little old Joseph is on his way to Egypt with a mixture of Ishmaelites and Midianites. Verse 29. And Reuben returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. He knew that Jacob was going to be out of his mind, out of his gourd. Verse 30, and he returned unto his brethren and said, the child is not, and I, whither shall I go? How am I going to handle this? 31, and they took Joseph's coat and killed a kid of the goats, dipped the coat in the blood, make it look like an animal killed him. 32, and they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father and said, this have we found. Know now whether it be thy son's coat or no. They knew it was. They knew it was Joseph's coat. And so would Jacob. 33. And he knew it and said, it is my son's coat. An evil beast hath devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces. So there he loses the son. But what he doesn't know is Joseph is on his way to Egypt, and before all is said and done, he will be the head banker, I think I can say that, the head supplier of Egypt. He will rise to great prominence because of the gifts he has in prophecy of keeping Egypt in grain and success and prosperity. Verse 34, and Jacob rent his clothes and put sackcloth on his loins and mourned for his son. Many days he couldn't get over it. Many days. And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him. But he refused to be comforted, and he said, for I will go down into the grave unto my son mourning. Thus his father wept for him. What a terrible thing to do to the old man, but yet at the same time you got to realize it is God's doings. Even though there are some shortcomings certainly by his brothers, That was a terrible thing that they did, to sell one of your own into slavery. 36. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, the officer of Pharaoh's and a captain of the guard. So you see, God arranges it where he moves right into the head household of Pharaoh in Egypt. Little Joseph, 17 years old, taken from among the brothers of the 12 tribes, and moved through one reason and the other, the hatred of his brothers, the dreams, the visions, all of it culminating into his being sold unto Potiphar, who was kind of the head accountant and captain of the guard for Pharaoh, meaning he was way up the ladder. Very important. And here he has someone fall into his hands that certainly is going to help him as time goes by. Chapter 38, verse 1. And it came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned in to a certain Adullamite whose name was Hira. Hira means Adullamite is Hara meaning a noble race. Verse 2. And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua. And strange, the name meaning wealth. And he took her and went in unto her. Now, this is not right. You understand that. Judah, who would be the king line, as we will find, is marrying out of his people. God is not going to bless that. God will not tolerate it. Okay? And we'll pick this up in the next lecture. Don't miss it. There are some fantastic history. Many people would call it stories. It's not stories. Stories can be fiction. But this is history, meaning translated his story. Whose story? God's story. And it is a true story. And it all fits and is very important. These things, with all the covert action, many of you might say, well, if God is in control, causing brothers to sell a brother and so forth, this is not for me. Well, it should be. You see, when you trust God's will, God knows what's coming. And He's making preparation to see that they all survive far more wealthy and far better off than they were to start with. That's why you want to always trust God. Let Him be the captain of your ship. By that I mean, bring Him into the equation of your life. Because with His blessings, you can't help succeeding. There will be ups and downs. Well, why wouldn't God just let me be a rosy roller and everything just be good? Well, what good would you be? If you couldn't handle hard times, there's hard times coming. We have a conflict going on, a conspiracy and a war all the time between Satan and God. And you're a part of it. You get to be a hothouse lily and you're worthless. You're not fit for anything. So remember, God educates us in the way life is. And sometimes life can be a little bit on the tough side, but with God, knowing He is in control, we're always winners. I like it. All right, don't miss the next lecture. It's exciting. God bless. Listen a moment, won't you please?